During the Clone Wars, the Galactic Republic predominantly relied on an army of clone troopers, while the Confederacy of Independent Systems assembled legions of battle droids. Anyone who knows anything about the Clone Wars knows those simple facts. Some of you might even know that both sides also made use of units of recruited soldiers, most of them drawn from the planetary security forces. But what you might not know is that, in limited numbers, the Republic also fielded battle droids, while the Separatists had their own clone army. In this video, we're going to take a look at Republic droids and Separatist clones and see how they stacked up against each other.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Let's start with the Republic's droid army. Those of you who know a lot about Republic history probably know that battle droids were once a favorite of the Republic military. During many conflicts, most notably the Mandalorian Wars, droid armies made up a significant chunk of Republic ground forces. The Republic didn't use battle droids nearly as extensively during the Clone Wars, however, mostly as a matter of optics. Since battle droids were associated with the Confederacy, the Republic was unwilling to muddy the water by relying on droids of their own, even if it would have given them an advantage. The Republic did maintain droid units within the Grand Army of the Republic though, just on a very limited scale. The main Clone Wars era Republic battle droid was the SD-6 Hulk infantry droid. Balmoran Arms produced these droids, and the Republic Judicial Forces owned a large number of them prior to the Separatist crisis. During the Clone Wars, the SD-6 was pulled from the front lines, both because the Separatists were using battle droids and because Balmorra had joined the Confederacy. However, the droids were rushed back into service later in the war, and despite its Separatist loyalties, Balmorra continued making them for the Republic, much to Count Dooku's annoyance. The SD-6 was essentially a mobile turret. It was 3.5 meters tall and covered in Starship-grade duranium armor, which rendered it invulnerable to small arms fire. It featured a pair of E-Web repeating blasters and 2 Merson ion rifles, which allowed it to mow down infantry and disable starships at the same time. If even infantry got too close, the SD-6 also had a pair of heavy grappling arms with which it could rip puny, inferior droids apart. The SD-6 was slow, single-minded, and very unintelligent, but it was so absurdly powerful that this rarely mattered on the battlefield. Early in the war, Taggy co-designed a droid model called the L8-L9 for the GAR. This unit never saw full-scale production, but we're going to include it here since it was custom built for the Republic. These droids were durable and incredibly agile, far more so than most droids on the market. L8, L9 units had plasma cannons and flamethrowers built into their arms, and they could spurn their bladed fingers to cut through objects. These droids could cut through durasteel and blast any enemy to smithereens. Any enemy, that is, aside from Asajj Ventress, who outmaneuvered and destroyed the prototype. Now the Confederacy's clone army. If you thought the Republic's battle droids were overpowered compared to the Separatists, just wait until you hear about the Morgu Kai Shadow Army. Later in the Clone Wars, Count Dooku, Sora Bulk, and their cadre of Dark Jedi recruited a Morgu Kai Nikto warrior named Bok as the template for a clone army. The army was grown in secret in lava caves on Seleucami. Unlike the Kaminoans, the Separatist clone masters fast-tracked the growth of Bok's clones, growing them to maturity in just over a year, the minimum safe time for growing clones. The Morgu Kai clones were about as similar to the Republic's clone troopers as vampires are to mosquitoes. As Nikto, they were naturally stronger and more aggressive than humans, and they were trained by the best of the best. Their genetic template and leader, Bok, was the last of a Nikto warrior cult called the Morgu Kai, an order of unstoppable berserkers and fearsome frontline champions. He trained his clones in the Morgu Kai ways, shaping them into terrifyingly effective warriors. But that wasn't all. The Morgu Kai clones also received training from many of the greatest Anzati assassins. The Anzati were some of the most cunning killers in the galaxy, particularly skilled at killing Jedi, and they taught their techniques to the Morgu Kai clones. To make matters even worse for the Republic, the Morgu Kai Shadow Army was equipped with Cortosis battle slaves, which could deflect or even deactivate lightsaber blades. On the battlefield, the Morgu Kai clones easily outmatched clone troopers and were tougher than many Jedi too. When in battle, they fought with single-minded fury, shrugging off severe injuries and paying no heed to the shifting tides of battle. They would fight to the last, taking as many clones and Jedi with them as they could. In close combat, they were such effective fighters that Jedi who ended up fighting the Shadow Army actually chose to use blasters instead of lightsabers, since ranged combat was a much safer bet against these unstable berserkers. If they had ever made it off Seleucami, the Morgul clones could have single-handedly turned the tide of the Clone Wars. Of course, the Morgul Shadow Army never did leave. The Republic learned of the army's existence before it was deployed and besieged the planet. The siege of Seleucami lasted for 5 grueling months. The Republic suffered immense casualties, and if it wasn't imperative that the Shadow Army be destroyed, they might have abandoned the siege. In the end, the cunning of Jedi Knight Quinlan Vos helped the Republic win the day. After Vos and Aayla Secura deactivated the Seleucami stronghold's shield generator, the Republic Navy obliterated the base from orbit. Not even the ferocious Morgul clones could stand up to sustained turbo laser fire, and the Shadow Army was unmade. Now for the fun part, determining which of these two armies would win in a fight. This is honestly much closer than we thought it would be. Both the Separatist clones and Republic droids were incredibly powerful. Both could take a whole lot of damage and still keep fighting. Both could dish out a lot of damage too, though crucially in different ways. The Republic droids were most effective at long range, while the Separatist clones were most effective toe-to-toe. Despite the SD6's heavy clobbering arms and the L8-L9's finger blades, we dare say that if the Morgul clones managed to get up close and personal with the droids, the Confederacy would win the day. But would they be able to get that close? The Morgul clones were tough and could shrug off a whole lot of damage while in a berserker state, but those droids had some serious firepower. Those E-Web blasters on the SD6 were no joke, capable of mowing down entire columns of battle droids. The plasma cannons on the L8-L9 would have been devastating as well, though the flamethrowers wouldn't have been too effective as the Morgul clones were extremely resistant to heat. The ion cannons on the SD6 wouldn't have been too great of a threat to the Morgul either. We think the weakest link here would be the sluggishness of the SD6. The Morgul could outmaneuver it, and while the L8-L9 was much more agile, the Morgul stood a better chance against them than against the SD6's E-Webs. Either side was capable of winning a field battle against the other, but in the end, we think we're going to have to give a narrow edge to the Morgul Shadow Army. Even if Box clones weren't the brightest stars in the galaxy, they were considerably smarter than the Republic's droids. In a battle, they would probably rush the Republic droids and take heavy casualties, but ultimately close the gap and tear the droids apart. We reckon the Shadow Army would win 6 times out of 10, a fair margin we think, as we could definitely see the SD6s mowing down the Morgul with their E-Webs as well. Republic battle droids and Separatist clone troopers? What's next? Rebel stormtroopers? Oh, right. Well, what's next? Rebel stormtroopers that don't get unfairly sidelined and stripped of their importance to the story by the producers? Anyway, what do you think? Do you think those Republic battle droids could win a fight with the Morgul Shadow Army? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.